Home renovations sounds easier than you think. Let's blow the budget. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes, episode 475. A really good topic this morning with myself, Mark, special guests, Anmol and Gerda from Paris and Baz Realty. And this morning, we're going to be talking about renovations, but also from the buyer's perspective, where more often than not, you'll go to a property and agents got all these great ideas of move the kitchen there, move the bathroom there. Yes, you can do a second story. Yes, you can do a pool. And they've never done it themselves. So, and there's a big difference between doing it yourself and actually following through. An agent's going to make it seem like the simplest process in the world that you're probably able to do under budget, but what the agent says and reality is not always the same thing because they haven't done it themselves. So this morning we're going to be talking about from two real estate agents who have done it themselves to relay some of their experiences to help buyers when they're looking at home to really judge it for themselves. And this isn't a dig at agents because it's great having ideas, but a buyer just got to be aware that building sucks.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. There you go. Like, it definitely sucks. I think, as you said, knowing your budgets is the first thing
100%.
that happens.
So tell us where you guys are, what you do, and then also from a business point of view, and tell us the renovation, the build you guys did.
Experience.
So we just added 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms at our existing property. It's been quite a journey. We're only going to do this, but we ended up blowing the budget. So we've added 3 bedrooms. So we're doing new flooring. So I think you got to be really careful where you draw the line because it's very easy to go overboard. But because we're living in the property, it's like our dream home. So we're overcapitalizing.
As you do. But I think the key, the stimulus of why we're doing this, especially the downstairs part, is having that home office. Now that with what we've seen with COVID, having a designated place where you can, comfortably work from home without interruptions, that was one of the key driving factors. And then obviously other personal reasons as well. But the whole process from the way it started of, making sure that we have the right people that are going to be putting the plan on paper. I think that was the first thing that.
So we engaged the original architect that designed our house because he knew exactly the structure of the house, which was easier for him to do the extension and then getting the council approval, structural engineering. So it's like building again, basically. If you're doing an extension on a contemporary design as well. So it's been quite a journey. So we're getting there. So the tiling's happening of the bathrooms at the moment.
Yeah.
So
we're at home allowing access to the tradies.
So in the background, we're doing
well, that's right. Access.
Tell us how hard it is. Like, obviously, you're finding good trades, planning it. But I think there's a couple of things people don't take into consideration is the emotional side of it, where, as what you said there, we're not overcapitalizing because it's our house. And people tell themselves that, then the budget doubles because when you're in the tile shop picking tiles or fixtures and fittings, did you find that basically really hard to control yourself when it's those little expenses? And obviously at each time going between that tapware and that tapware, it seems like, it's only a little bit more. But when you do that on everything, because a lot of people don't believe they do this until they start. And did you find that?
It was only yesterday when we ordered new appliances. We're like, do we go this brand or this brand? Nah, we're going to stay in it for the next 10 years. Let's just go with this. It's worth the extra money.
Exactly. The tiles we can give last week. You can choose a tile that's $50 square meter or $250 square meter. So obviously, when you see the test in the showroom, you go, you know what, I want to go for this one.
And then you're trying to look at the different trends. Like the latest is the chevron and herringbone. With the flooring, the wooden flooring, and with the tiles in the bathrooms as well. So like, that's awesome. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
But then you factor in the actual installation, all of the other bits and pieces that come with it. But
what I can say is doing a bathroom, it costs a bomb these days, especially if you want to do it right and if you want to make it 5-star. Yeah.
Mm.
So what is also
Wow.
is also, I would say, is lining up the trades. Because you can line up one trade and the other trade doesn't come for a week or 2 weeks. That is also very important because that causes delay in and you lose momentum while you're doing extension or renovating. So lining up good trades and also at the right time is very important.
And the other thing that we also found that worked really well this time around is initially when the house was under construction, we took lots of photos just because it was firstly, hey, it's cool, it's our first house, let's see now the slab's down, now this is down. But that's actually come in really handy now that we go to say, okay, well, look, this is actually how the beams were running, or this is where the pipes were. It allows us to be able to be careful when we are, the demolition's happening, or the lower end, that exactly what. Where to stop.
Yeah, because they're always sometimes a bit hit and miss because they're like, oh, I wonder where this cord goes. How did they originally put it? Especially, it's very hard to get the same person who may have done it 5, 10, even 2 years ago. And if they don't know, people don't really think about it, but they're actually just putting holes in your wall to find it. So having those progress pictures, but also knowing that, do the progress pictures, but sometimes also keep in mind, let's see where those wires run so you actually know. So that's a good one.
What's also been
Mark,
Mark, you go. Yep.
What were the three most embarrassing things or mistakes that happened in this journey? Because you guys are experienced, you're not only in property but you built before. What were the three most embarrassing things that you don't want to tell us?
Three mistakes. Three mistakes.
I think what's been really eye-opening, I wouldn't say probably embarrassing, is that everything's costing a fortune right now. You know how we say land prices have gone up? I'm telling you, building prices, they're going for
the cost. Yeah. So that's number one. Wow. Okay.
It's enormous. If you look at any trade, I think it's crazy.
And I think it's also because they're just so busy. I mean, the government's done such a fantastic job stimulating the building industry that they are so busy, and being able to find the right tradesmen, they are either asking for more or they are asking us to wait. I mean, our pool guy told us he's got a waiting list of 1 year. He can't do the pool for 1 year. Crazy. And where I think where we were expecting a certain amount, it's probably double what this guy would charge in a year's time.
It's crazy. Yeah. All the good trades, they're booked out. And you know what I mean? If you want to wait, you wait. If you don't want to wait, see you later.
So what budget control, really be realistic. Basically, say if you're budgeting for 30 grand, have 60, just have double as a minimum sort of thing. So
double it.
Okay.
Because guys, how would one do a budget if you've never done it before? Like, I don't get that, because at the end of the day, if I've built 20 kitchens, I'd be pretty good at budgeting kitchens. But if I've never built a kitchen, or it's my second kitchen, your budget's not going to be that sharp. So
what's the per square meter rate? I think we worked out.
Smart.
I think the per square meter rate, if you want high-end quality, I think we're looking at 35,000 to 40,000 a square.
But bathrooms is different, isn't it?
Yeah, like you can up to 50,000. So it depends on the personal taste as well. So I think how emotional you get and how deep you want to go down. So
But I think that the best thing is getting as many quotes as you can. I think for concreting we had how many? I think we had about 20 quotes for concrete and they were just so different.
And it's especially if you don't have experience and you don't know what you're doing.
Who's ripping you off?
You don't know what quote entails what. So it's very important to have.
That's what I'd like to dig a little deeper in. Because if people, they've got no experience, they're relying on the quotes. What did you like seeing? Because we want to give people some really basic takeaways, and I think this could be one. Quote. What did you like seeing in a quote? Because when I've had it before, sometimes it's just a photo and a price. Like, how did you qualify getting a quote, especially when you may not know anything about what they're saying in there? How did you double check? What did you do besides getting? Was there something you looked for? The professionalism of it.
I think especially if you've got someone in the family, or if you know someone that's done it before as well, you can cross-check with them, because that's always handy. And once you get a couple of quotes, you kind of get the drift of what a quote is, what's this guy quoting, or what's missing. So you can kind of start picking up okay, he's cutting corners here or there.
Yeah, because the likes of, for example, say concrete, the inclusions are, you get this many piers and, it's the different materials that are included in the quote. That's when you can compare, well, this guy's quoting for 19 piers and this guy's saying 5. So why is the difference, And the other thing that we also found, again, from a key learning perspective, is making sure the quote includes removal or the actual, so that whatever has been demolished, taking it out and putting it in the skip bin. We had this, we had to pay someone to come out and take the rubbish to outside to the skip bin because the quote did not include removal. They took it off, like they smashed it, took it off, but not actually putting it in where it's supposed to go.
Well, yeah. Also, when you're building, there's a lot of building waste. So people underestimate how much building waste goes. I think we've gone through nearly 14 skip bins, and like that, and they're like the big ones. And,
how much for a skip bin?
About $6.50 a skip bin. Yeah,
but that's a good point with the quotes. Really, people just look at they just get the quote straight to the bottom, but it's like, make sure they detail it. Going, are you quoting? Because it's like, are you quoting me for the cheap stuff or the expensive stuff or the quantity? So I think that's a real takeaway. Make the builder step through each step what they're including, because a cheaper quote may not actually be cheaper. You may get an inferior product or less service, and they're just sort of making the cheaper price as what they do, and the end price is a lot more.
Once you have one quote that is detailed, that's when you take that quote to the other contractors or the tradesmen and say, well, tell me your cost for X, Y, and Z. Itemize it. I think itemizing is very important.
So I think when it comes to extension, renovating, or own a building, and you're personally involved in the project, I think there's 3 things: time, knowledge, and money. I think these 3 things are the 3 key points you need, because time. Look, we're sometimes I'm running from the office three times.
We're fortunate we've got help
at
home.
5 minutes away as well. So and my parents are home, so it's doable. But if you don't have the time as well, it's very stressful, because you're the single point of contact. They're going to call you if anything goes wrong, and if you're not there to answer the phone, right, they'll just cut the corner and do it.
I've got a question. And this is, I think, a fundamental thing that people completely miss. You know how much you spent on your renovation, and you sort of would have a guide of how much of your time you spent doing the renovation between both of you, and what your time costs.
Yeah.
Your time over budget, would you say it was 30% of the budget, 50% of the budget? Like, you're talking every conversation you guys had as a couple every day since before the renovation begun to during the renovation. Like, where would you put the percentage of time? Because time's a very expensive commodity that no one accounts for because it's their own.
Yeah, 100%. It's very detailed. We're talking about all the time.
I reckon so. In comparison to what we've spent and what the dollar value of the time would be, what would be a percentage? I reckon it would be pretty high. It would be high.
Before we go to sleep, we're thinking about it in the morning. Who's coming in the morning?
But you know what?
Meeting the trades. Quotes.
But what we're looking at it is that, yes, it's a short period of our time. We're planning to be here for the next 10 years. So in comparison to the benefits that we're going to get in the years to come, the time investment is nothing in that point of view. From that,
it's still a cost.
100% agree.
It's still a cost.
But this is what
I want to know. What's the number? I want to know. It was at 50. Compared to your budget, was it 50%? Or was it 30%? Because you reckon we all know we're all going to blow out our budgets when we do a renovation by double or triple. I just did a renovation and I quadrupled my what I thought it would cost, and I thought, well, I nailed it. But I would actually, I'll tell you on what we did. I reckon in terms of time, from what it actually cost us, I reckon it was at about 50%.
Yeah, and my whole point on this is what you've got to look at it when you factor in that time point of view. There's 2 ways to look at it, because the person who's doing, let's say this is where it affects a lot more. They are a builder, and they're going, I can do it at this price, but they're sacrificing full paying jobs to do the work. That's where people make themselves feel better that they're making more money because they did the build instead of retail rate of 100, they did it for 70, but they cancelled 3 other jobs or they didn't do something for it. So you didn't really. But a lot of the time in your case where it's more of you're really just taking on a hobby and a love. It could not be. A lot of people in your position, they're not doing it to save money. They want it because they want to control it. So yeah, it's good to know the time, but it's also like, you wouldn't have done it any other way. It was a bit of both. You didn't cancel open homes to do the floor tiling. So it's different, but it's not. But you need to also be real about it as well, because we all know that extra hour in the office doing phone calls, the extra you may have stopped doing. You may do letterbox drops every morning, but you've stopped that during this reno. That costs money. So there's always a factor. Yeah, the opportunity cost. But where people go really wrong is when they're trying to flip something and they just they just pretend their time's worthless. That's where Mark's point is. People really need to look in the mirror and be like, am I worthless? Or every hour I spend there is an hour I could be somewhere else.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy.
Let me just give Luke a shout out. He's got, so let me go back top. Tough. Yes. Buy. Invest more. Bad. Get the experts, Mark. You once said about the reno cost. Where is it? Does capital growth outperform reno growth? In my view, I think it does a lot, but it depends what you're doing the reno for. Like there's love and lifestyle renovations, and then there's the profit renovation model, which can be a little tricky because we see Northern Beaches where we had peak 2019 and then drop. Like people were buying properties, rent and doing the reno, and it was worth less than that because they're in their mind they got to flip it in 2 years. Well, if they just waited a couple of years, it would have sold for double. So it's a real trick on the capital growth. That question, good question, Luke.
That's the timing in the market.
Yeah, and can I tell you? Can I make you guys feel really bad because you've done a renovation? Can I make me feel really bad because I've done a renovation?
Yeah.
If we took that money
and invested,
put it as a So if you take 100,000, you can buy $500,000 worth of property and watch it grow. So I think anyone considering doing a renovation, I think you can almost throw the maths out of the window, and I think from what I'm learning today from you guys, after labour, after trades, after cost, after what you could have done with that renovation money in investing in something else, I think your biggest investment is in your family.
Yeah, 100%.
Enjoying where you live.
That's it.
You want to live like a king.
What it is.
One more before we wrap it up. So we've got the knuckling down on quoting, especially the rubbish removals, a big one. The factor in your time, organising the builders and the quotes, I think is very, very genius because people are like, because there's so much stuff you've got to do before you do other stuff, like wall painting, like you may need to do that. And your painter may be ready, but the plasterer is not. And there could be a couple of weeks there. How did you guys work in still living there? What's some tips? Do you think you should have just moved out and done it that way? Or how did you find living under the roof while happening?
Luckily, the extension part has been like towards the side of the house and the back of the house. So we've had we're basically clear of it. And we've kept it clean. The side is always clean. Some parents are here, so it hasn't been like a building site, which we've been kind of lucky. But it is a little bit more.
Yeah, it depends on what you do, and how much, whether it is worth moving out to save the hassle. But then again, you've got to count in because right now, because our parents are monitoring or watching the tradesmen while they're working, if they were based off-site, they will then have to come back. They will then have to come in.
I'll just stand there, arms crossed, like nail straight. Just
but like from an access point of view, from providing whatever that might be,
the 6 o'clock trade here, where he was
and they're
sitting-
lovely. You know, they bring out coffees and teas for the tradesmen and look after them like that as well. So it's a good experience.
It's a bit of a journey.
The trades are used. I think trades are used to being, if they've got normally the immigrant families are pretty good at coffee, tea, lunch, biscuits.
Looking after them.
Take this home with you.
We just tell them, "Thank you, mate. Just get the job done. You know, you don't even need to go home."
Yeah.
Now, taking a step back, would you have preferred to maybe put in a project manager to sort of filter a lot of the questions, or do you think it was okay? Because it's really you guys and then all 20 trades. Do you think it would have been worth to just have that one person you guys speak to and that person speaks to the 20? Yes, it takes into cost, but I think we've already factored in this whole thing is blowing money. So if you're going to blow it, what would have helped in your lifestyle and still function in your business a bit more?
I think having another layer, depending on what you're doing, is beneficial. But then again, I think the point came about, firstly, sort of, finding that person in the time.
We're very particular in who we wanted to use. So we've done the hard yard. So to put someone in the middle would have been, I think, a bit of a much.
You sort of take it. But look, I think.
And we love the journey. So we love to be. So
it's different per person. We were talking to Bernard Desmond, for example, and he's building at the moment, and he's got a project manager. So we were comparing, like, that's a great idea, but with us, what we were trying to do is trying to have the skin in the game, because we are wanting to be more involved. And what we learned as being involved in this project was far more rewarding and something that we can pass on than just having a project manager make those decisions for us and sort of just, us just paying them money.
And also
so I think it's also helped our business so that we can, be sharing our experience with our clients to say, well, this is what we went through, and this is what our key learnings were, which might have not been the same if we had someone else look after that part.
And what gave us confidence is because we've done it before as well. So I think knowledge and experience counts a lot. So it's for someone first time, it is daunting.
That's right. Definitely. Yeah, first time, definitely. I think it makes sense to allow for a project manager. But
like what John McGrath says, he goes, to be a good agent, you need to be buying and selling a property as soon as you can to go through that experience.
Yeah. And obviously, as a good real estate agent as well, if you've built before, you've done extensions, renovations. I think it only adds to your repertoire as an agent when you go and sell properties. What's in the property, what's involved in the property, and you can explain it in detail.
And so it's just adding a better skill set.
What about you, Mark? What did you learn? Let's take you in there for the last 30 seconds.
Mark, have you finished your extension renovation?
Because what do you do, Mark?
Yeah, we started off with the kitchen, which led on to the ceiling in the living room, which led on to the carpet in the living room, which led on to the carpet, the ceiling in the bedrooms, which led on to the curtains upstairs, and which led on to the kitchen, the curtains, the gyprock cornices, the carpets in the girls' bedrooms and the living room, which ended up being a lot of money. So I thought my mistake was allowing it to run. It just kept running and running, because you're like, well, while we're doing it, while we've got everyone here, but it was and just appliances. Like, I didn't realise how much. Because when you get a quote for a kitchen, you think cabinets, but you don't realise your cabinetry is probably going to be a third of your cost. After you get your services and your plumbing and your appliances and all that stuff, and then your flooring and then your stuff ups and nuts, crazy.
So discipline, really. Just saying, we're just doing the kitchen, we're stopping here is a big one. But
sounds boring.
But if you've got the money and it's your home, I think the big thing here as well, we're not talking about doing an investment property. We're talking about where you're going to live. So there's no real wrong, especially if you've got the funds, obviously.
I think if I can definitely say, because we've been living in it now for 3 months, like it's just brand new. Like, it's just everyone, like, it's like everyone's got the whole family's got a new toy to play with, and it's like it's very, very, it was very rewarding. Yeah.
Once it's done.
Yeah, you
Happy
feel
days.
that, wow, you know, we did this.
It's an achievement.
It's fun. Yeah.
Do it again.
Alrighty. Anything else we want to speak about, or is that a wrap?
I think all
So
good.
right.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. You both
Hey,
were great. Yes, Mark.
If you're Northern Beaches, go to Novak. And guys,
If we're in the Hills District.
So does that explain enough? Is that like saying Northern Beaches or the other suburbs?
what suburbs are you?
So Hills District, so, you know, Norwest, Bella Vista, Kellyville, Castle Hill,
West Pennant Hills,
West Pennant Hills,
Cherrybrook.
Glenwood, even the Ponds, Stanhope
So
Gardens, everywhere.
Inside Northern Beaches, call them. But you also do financing as well. So sales, leasing, management, and financing.
And finance.
And renovation tips.
Power couple.
Project marketing. Project
Funding is very
managing.
important for all these projects.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
Yeah.
You're a legend.